The King has delivered a speech at the UK's commemorative event in Normandy for the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Here it is.
80 years ago, on D-Day, the 6th of June 1944, our nation and those which stood alongside us faced what my grandfather, King George VI, described as the supreme test. How fortunate we were, and the entire free world, that a generation of men and women in the United Kingdom and other allied nations did not flinch when the moment came to face that test. On the beaches of Normandy, in the seas beyond, and in the skies overhead, our armed forces carried out their duty with a humbling sense of resolve and determination, qualities so characteristic of that remarkable wartime generation. Very many of them never came home. They lost their lives on the D-Day landing grounds or in the many battles that followed. It is with the most profound sense of gratitude that we remember them and all those who served at that critical time.
So that's the King talking movingly at the D-Day commemorations. Poignant, extraordinary. Journalist broadcaster Carole Malone's here and political commentator Jonathan Lee. So they normally disagree about everything, but Carole, I think you two
No one can disagree on this. You know, 80 years ago today, you know, dawn broke and 136,000 troops marched onto those beaches in Normandy. You know, it's... we can't imagine today, can we, the unimaginable courage it took for those men to do it. There's a great piece in one of the papers today where the gentleman says it's the 103-year-old veteran, and he says, you know, I thought if I'm going to get hit, make it quick, so that he doesn't feel it. Now, you know, no young person alive today, no one of 20 today can imagine what these 18, 20-year-old lads went through. And it moves me beyond speech, really, because I know that I'm looking at this D-Day and there will probably never be another one.
No,
because the next one, those veterans who are there today may not be with us anymore. The ones who are 103, the ones who are 98. And it will be their children who come to keep the torch of remembrance burning. But, you know, I feel a lot of young people today don't understand the relevance of D-Day. It's not their fault. They've never known anything like it. They didn't live in those times. They've never known war. I feel they should be taught about the relevance of it. And the thing is, you know, to say it's not relevant, they literally couldn't be more wrong. You know, we see what's happening in Russia. We see with China flexing its muscles. We see the Middle East in flames. We see all of that. And this could happen again, you know. And I think it's just... Children, young people need to be prepared that it might, but they also need to thank the people whose sacrifice means that they have the lives they have today.
Quite right. Jonathan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a deeply moving event. Obviously, it's the final farewell, I suppose, to a generation. Next year for VE Day, the 80th anniversary of VE Day will be, I think, the final one. I was very struck by the stat that I think there were 228 or so veterans who went to the 75th anniversary of D-Day, only 23, I think, this year. But also, you know, there are the people that those veterans left behind. My friend Anthea, a dear friend of mine, her father died on D-Day. I think she was actually on the BBC yesterday, and she's out in France. And you know, she is still as fresh in her mind as a day as a 9-year-old girl, where she came home from school and, you know, her mother in tears and sort of told her about the telegram and everything. And that really stays with you your whole life. So you have the war, it kind of does pass down through the generations. And, you know, Carole was right, we can't possibly imagine what that was like. But it's absolutely right that we should commemorate these events and not have them as any kind of party political acts. They are an opportunity for the country to come together and give thanks to a generation.
I think what it also does is it makes you realise, you know, the politicians at the moment are scrapping about Trident and nuclear weapons and all the rest of it. The bottom line is what this reminds you of is that we have to ensure that our country is protected. I mean, above all, so that this can't happen to us
Yeah,
again. And I think it, to have a 21st century slant on it, this is what needs to happen. But watching these guys, Charles and Camilla were clearly moved. The pictures on all the front pages today, tears in their eyes. And I saw Charles talking to a veteran, I think it was at Buckingham Palace a few days ago. And we've always accused him of not having compassion or empathy, but with these guys, he is so empathetic, so compassionate. And he was saying, my grandfather did this and my thing. And these guys had met the people he was talking about. They were talking about meeting Montgomery, his uncle.
Yeah.
And he was fantastic with them. And I was looking at it and thinking, Charles is 74 years old, which is an age, but he's still 20-odd years younger than most of these guys that he's talking to.
And at times like this, also, I know I don't want to make this about Republicans versus monarchy, but it's one I'm glad we've got a monarchy because they're not political. It's not some boring president making the speech, and his family, the royal family, was steeped in the Second World War, Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly.
It really was.
Well, I'm actually a monarchist anyway, which is my least left-wing opinion, I suppose. But I remember VE Day. In 1995, when you had the Queen Mother, who was the Queen during the Second World War. And people of my age, we can sort of remember the 50th anniversary of all these events where there were just thousands and thousands of people who could remember these events. And now we've got to the stage where we kind of can count them,
and they're in the singing
hundreds.
outside Buckingham Palace.
And it much like, how sort of 25, 30 years ago, you could still meet people just about who'd fought in the Great War, the First World War. And now, obviously, there is no one at all alive who can even remember it, really. So that's it. Time does move on. We have to hold on to these memories.
I think that's it's not because it's my paper, but I just think that, to me, sums everything up, eternally in their debt.
Yeah, what a lovely, lovely old guy. He's probably one of the young ones. He could be 99.
He says 90, he's 99. He's one of the
youngster.
There's one that's 103.
I know, amazing.
So, thank you for them.